I don't think you ever find out till you start playing games. And I don't think you find out until you start playing games that bring a lot of adversity to it. So, you want to find out right away. You want to learn about your team throughout the course of the week. This week, you know what we want to see? We want to see maturity. And we want to see urgency, right? We want to see a team that takes practice as seriously as a game. We want to see a team that when it goes to the hotel, immediately goes up to their room like we have structured, gets in there, starts putting on their Normatec boots and start watching more film, getting into their tips and reminders, going over their tests, right? As opposed to, getting on a game system, which we're not going to do, as opposed to just wasting time and brain space. We want to see a team that when we come off for pregame, certain portions of pregame, certain portions of it should look just like a game. The offense and defensive line, when they rip off the ball, it should look like a live one-on-one rep, right? We want to see urgency, right? Getting to class early, making sure, man, my bag is packed with my stacks. I got my schedule. I know when my tutors are going to be. I'm not going to miss anything so I could compete fast and free in the classroom and be on top of my assignments, and that I could compete fast and free on Saturday because I have practiced in a disciplined manner. I have lived a disciplined life. I have created elite habits, and now they got to show.
It's time to find out, Canes fans. It's time to learn about your team. The buildup is enormous when you consider that the season opening opponent this year is a little bit different than what we saw a year ago. It's Bethune-Cookman. It's not Alabama and Atlanta. A new era is upon us, though, a new time. A time for Miami to begin showing that it is building towards simply being Miami again. Tonight, as we begin a new season of CaneSport Live, there are so many questions for us to ponder and to discuss. What's a realistic expectation for this team? Yesterday on our Good Morning CaneSport show, I thought Matt Shodell made a great point when he raised the issue of how much a team can improve in about 36 practices. 15 in the spring, now 21 here in the fall to this point. He thinks a realistic expectation is 8 victories this season. I think the number's 9. What do you guys think? Let's hear it tonight. What kind of offense are we going to see around Tyler Van Dyke this year? Can the Canes find big play threats on the outside at receiver? Or is this going to be more of a station-to-station offense, which usually leads to tight games in the fourth quarter? When you get in tight games in the fourth quarter, you're going to win some and you're going to lose some. We've seen it so many times over the last 2 decades. There's been more positive conversation about the receivers the past few days. Is it real? Or is this Mario Cristobal, the psychiatrist, trying to build confidence in his unit going into the season opener? The defense has been the rave of fall camp. Now it's time to go against somebody else. Are there clues for us in the fact that Kevin Steele will be calling the game from field level as opposed to up in the box? Wants to be able to touch and feel his guys a little bit during the game and provide hands-on instruction as opposed to trying to do it over a headset or try to do it through his fellow assistant coaches. We'll talk about that tonight. Needless to say, there's one thing that's pretty obvious as we listen to the great orator, Mario Cristobal, to kick off tonight's show. The players aren't going to be playing Madden in the team hotel on Friday night, folks. It's game on at Miami. Hello again, everybody. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, and we welcome you once again to CaneSport Live. New format this year. We ditched the audio only. We're coming on YouTube this year. We're featuring our YouTube channel. We've got new call-in technology. We're not going to have all kinds of guys hanging on the phone lines for hours anymore, waiting to come on the show. We've got to think about 10 lines that are open. If you get a busy signal, it means they're full. When somebody hangs up, it means the line's opened up. And we're going to try to keep the flow of callers going a little bit quicker this year. Try to have shows that are in about the 2-hour range this year, as opposed to the 3-hour range. So you guys, when you call in and we bring you on the show, try to cooperate a little bit in that regard, and we'll get as many people on the show as we can each week. As always, it's your show. It'll be driven by your participation. You see the call-in number at the bottom of your screen, 305-889-7342. 305-889-7342. We once again ask the subscribers at CaneSport.com to post the topics and questions that they would like to hear discussed on tonight's show, and we will address those tonight during the course of the show. So as you saw from the opening clip, Mario Cristobal's press conferences have evolved into must-see events. He's so eloquent. There's always such great points behind pretty much everything he says, every message. You feel at times like he's almost talking to his players through the media, and he probably is. The coach has a unique way of making his points. For example, no depth chart has yet to be released. Well, this week, Mario said he wants the team to continue competing in practice this week, and that's why he has not yet released a depth chart. He doesn't really believe in them. He calls them organizational charts. We may get one at some point before kickoff on Saturday, but he wants these guys out there competing right up to the very end when they go to the stadium. Here's what he had to say about that.
This week, it's not fair. Look, if it was fair and it was clear as day, you'd be handed something today. I mean, there's no head fakes on this side. I don't believe in it. I mean, when we speak here and we get a chance to address the media, it's a privilege. It's also an extension of a team meeting. There's nothing that I'm ever going to mention here that's not mentioned and emphasized in our team meeting. These battles, some of them are still going on. And our players and our program deserve that respect for me to continue to assess and let those guys go on a Tuesday and Wednesday giving their best so we can really put our best guys and our best performers on the field in the way that they deserve to be.
All right, the phone lines are lit up, so I want to go out and get to it. So remember, it's a little different this year, more like a radio station. If you get a busy signal when you call in, it means the queue is full, and we got a full queue right now. When a caller hangs up and is finished, that opens up a line, and we'll keep the flow going throughout the show this evening. We also have a new feature this year. It's called Super Chat and Super Stickers. You'll see it beneath your video screens on YouTube. It gives you guys a chance to elevate your status in the comments section as the live chat also evolves during tonight's show. It also gives you an opportunity to support our YouTube channel, support our expansion of live and on-demand programming that we bring you guys, and you've seen a continuation of that over the past several months. So your donations will help fund the growth of CaneSport.com's YouTube channel and our video offerings, and we appreciate any of those contributions that you guys make this evening. So let's get right to it. We begin tonight, I believe, if I'm recognizing this correctly, it's Adam in the 305. You are live on CaneSport Live. How you doing this evening?
Good, Gary. How are you?
Am I right? It's Adam, right?
Yeah.
How about that?
How
about that? I remembered the number.
Yeah. A couple things. One, is this the most hype for a UM season, like a UM debut, even before Mark Lick in 2015 or 2016 that you've been around? Again, I've only been a Canes fan since Jimmy, so I'm not that old, not that old. But in your time covering Miami and being there, it was a high figure like under Jimmy Johnson or Dennis Erickson.
Adam, I'm not gonna say that because this first game is against Bethune-Cookman. It's coming.
No, I meant like the hype surrounding the team, like the Century News, like it wasn't there with Manny Diaz.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that the opponent is tempering some of that. I think that it's obviously going to start hitting an upward trend on Saturday when there's actually a game for people to go to. But I think the fact that you got a ho-hum week 1 and a pretty ho-hum week 2 has kind of had everybody focusing on their vacations and everything else. So I know I have not seen what you're talking about, not even close to like last year when we were heading up to Atlanta to play Alabama. But I do think it's going to build. And obviously the interest is going to become enormous with Mario Cristobal taking over. Athletic director Dan Radakovich told us today that he expects there to be about 50,000 fans in the stands on Saturday if everybody who's bought tickets shows up. And with John Ruiz promising to fill extra seats and stuff, who knows? Maybe it'll get higher than that. But I expect this thing to build, Adam, going into Texas A&M.
Okay. So it's similar to like 2015 or 2016, sorry, when we opened, but I think like Florida A&M in Mark Richt's first game, and that slowly built.
Yeah, that might be a decent analogy.
Okay. A couple other things. I know Mario mentioned Malik Curtis as somebody who's really surprising him yesterday, and I heard that again on CaneSport Live this morning. Do you see any other freshmen, like IU Cyrus Moss, making a big impact this year, either offensively or defensively?
All right, Adam, I'm gonna disconnect your line to let somebody else come in, and I'll talk a little bit about the freshmen. It's going to be hard, right? I think the way this team's come together with the transfer portal additions and stuff, for a true freshman to just walk out there and play against Texas A&M on the 17th. We'll see some in these first 2 games. No doubt about it. You might, I'm trying to think, who they might be. You might see a little of Skinner, for example. Maybe you'll see a little bit Nigel E. Kelly, maybe Moss, although, man, I'm hoping hard that they redshirt him. But you're not going to see a ton of freshmen out there on offense and defense, I don't think. Once you get into the meat of the schedule, you might see a sprinkling of some of those DBs, for example, on special teams. They probably can help a little bit on some of the special teams. But with the veterans that have been brought in through the transfer portal, I think, Adam, that it's going to be very, very, very difficult for young kids to break into the starting lineup, for example, and maybe even the rotation at most of these positions. All right, let's go out now to the 917, which I believe is in Brooklyn. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Hey, what's up, Gary? BK.
Hey, what's up, BK? Welcome back.
What's going on?
Doing good, man. What you got?
All right, I got just pretty much a prediction for the season totals, wins wise. I'm going with 10, and I'm not going with 10 just because it's Mario and the new regime and all that. We avoided 10 wins throughout the old coach's whole career because of dumb, stupid losses, games we had no business losing. It's just absolutely no business losing. We lost those games. We always ended up with 7 or 8 wins. I'm taking back those. We're not going to lose those games. We shouldn't lose anymore. So I'm going with 10 wins, not because we're this great, amazing team. Hopefully because we have better coaches now, and we won't lose those games. That's the only reason why I'm saying 10.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really reasonable. But, reality, if you look at college football, there's not a lot of teams every year that get to double digits. And the thing that troubles me is still, I don't know. I think it's a little bit better than it's been because of the transfers that have come in on the defensive line this year. But you still don't have a ton of elite talent at a lot of key positions on the roster. And those are the guys that the better teams in college football are typically able to bail their teams out of tough situations. You're going to have BK 5 or 6 games this year that are going to probably be in the balance in the fourth quarter. And you got to have guys that make plays. I mean, we kind of took KJ Osborne for granted when he was here. Now he's still in the NFL, making a lot of plays in the NFL. Think back to that game at Pitt a few years ago when the game was in the balance, and he makes that, runs a great route and makes a big catch and scores a touchdown down the stretch at Pittsburgh to get the Canes the victory. Those are the kind of things I'm talking about. And as the year goes on, you're only going to be able to lean on Mallory, on Restrepo so much. I mean, there's going to have to be other guys that step up that can make big plays in these tight games. I think Jalen Knighton is a guy that can do that, but he's coming out of the backfield. At some point, whether it's Keyshawn Smith, Michael Redding, Latson, one of these guys, to me, on the outside, is going to have to become a playmaker if this team is going to flirt with double-digit victories. That's I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but that's the way I see it as I look forward.
You're probably right, but there's only 2 teams on our schedule. That's Texas A&M.
Let me stop you. Okay, we say the same thing every year. I'll include, everybody. This fan base says the same thing every single year. Nobody in the ACC is any good. Then suddenly you get into the ACC, and suddenly a Pittsburgh is a good team. Suddenly an NC State is a good team. Suddenly a Wake Forest is a good team. Suddenly going on the road to Virginia, where they have a veteran quarterback who's one of the better quarterbacks in the country, in Brennan Armstrong, and you have to deal with him on his home field. Suddenly they're a dangerous team. You still got to go to Blacksburg. Yeah, but BK, I'm just trying to tell you, you fall into this trap, and I'm not saying you. I'll say all of us collectively fall into this trap every year. Everybody sucks. The ACC sucks. Nobody's any good. You got a lot of good quarterbacks in this conference, BK, and that gives any of these teams a chance to beat any of these other teams in the conference every week. Because when you have a guy that can light it up through the air, it can be an equalizer even if your team isn't quite good enough. And then you start factoring in penalties, turnovers, the bounces of the ball that just are not always going to go your way. So don't fall into the trap, man. This team, this is BK. He's just starting, BK.
We're in the ACC championship game.
BK, Mario's just starting, man. He's just getting going here. This is not a one-year rebuild, okay? And if they get into double digits, he'll be coach of the year, I think.
I'm not putting it on Mario. I'm just saying, over the years of ineptitude of us losing games we had no business losing. I'm only talking about that. The games we had absolutely no business losing, we end up losing it, even with a coach like Manny Diaz. We beat Virginia. He's probably still the coach this year.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. He probably is. And I think we'd be sitting here tonight saying, can this team get to 7 wins? Seriously. I really believe that. Like, I don't think they do as well with the transfers. I think it's a whole different perspective if that were the case.
Yeah. Well, next year, it'll be 11 wins, but this year I'll leave it to 9 or 10. I'll take 9 wins, 9 regular season wins, and 1 bowl win. So when I say 10, that includes the bowl win.
All right, BK. Thanks for coming on the show, man. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, cool.
All right, let's go to the 786. Raul, you are live on CaneSport Live. How you doing tonight?
Gary, how are you?
Doing good, my man. Welcome back. Another season.
Question for you, Gary. You say win percentage. I say 8-10 win like Matt said.
8?
8-10 win maybe.
You're on 8.
Yes.
Okay, why?
Yeah, 8 to 10.
Well, you can't say 8 to 10. No. That's a cop out. You can't say 8 to 10.
Okay.
You got to give us a real prediction. If you
no problem. I give 9-3 and then bowl win.
Okay. I think a lot of people would take that. You guys in the chat, would you take 9-3 right now?
Yes, of course. Yes.
We got a lot of guys in the chat right now. I mean, I think a lot of guys would take 9-3. Chris Brown says that he thinks 10 wins is achievable if the team stays healthy and focused.
Gary, you think we play our best football toward the end of season, 5, 6, 7 games? Best football, right?
You hope that you can build.
With the coaching staff.
Yeah, you hope that you're building in that way. Bernard Williams, by the way, one of our listeners says he would take 9-3, Raul.
Yeah, I take it. I think it right now. For money.
All right, my man. What else? You got anything else for us tonight?
No, go Cane, Gary. Go Cane.
All right, Raul. Thanks for the call, man. We'll talk to you. We'll talk to you next time. Let's go out to my man Jake in the 727. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Hi, Gary. It's Jake from St. Pete.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for doing the show tonight.
How are you, man? Hope you've had a good off season.
I have. You got me drinking the Kool-Aid. Now you guys are spilling it out. I don't get it. I look at this. 10-2 to me is the low barometer for the season. I know I'm the pumper every year and going nuts, but here's the thing. Like, if not now, then when? We've got the coach we want. Last year I got into arguments with you because I wasn't the biggest fan of hiring Mario, but then Mel Tucker changed the game. And there's two reasons why that's important. Number one, because Mel Tucker, he didn't do good his first year, but he didn't meet his team until the season began. So throw that out. He won 11 games last year in what you would probably call his first season. It can be done. Dave Aranda, there's a lot of guys who turned it around. But number two, that contract he got, that upped his stakes. And Mario got a boatload of cash dumped in his lap, not for him, but to upgrade the staff, to upgrade the facilities. He's getting everything he wants. This is the best coaching staff in the ACC. We have more 4- and 5-star talent than any team in the ACC but Clemson. And, I know we talk about the ACC becomes daunting. It's not. It's not a good conference. It's just we play down to competition. And, it had like the 2017 when we played Pitt. They weren't better than us. They weren't any good. They were a lousy team. We just let off the gas. And that's been the MO for this team for the last 20 years is right when you get on the precipice of being good, you let off the gas. You start buying the hype. You start buying the BS in the media. And I don't think that Mario's going to allow that. I think he's going to keep this team grounded. I think he's going to keep this team focused. And to me, that's half the battle is these guys just start believing the hype. They start letting up in practice. If they were, under Diaz, it sounds like they were hardly practicing at all. And, these guys are going to be physical. Think about last year, how many games we lost because of arm tackling and because of just poor technique. It's not that these guys don't know how to play. It's that these guys they weren't putting in the effort. And I don't think that's going to fly with Mario. If one guy's a starter week one, he goes out, slacks, and plays fundamentally poor football, he'll get replaced. He'll keep going until he finds someone. And this idea that we don't have a playmaker, like we have a bunch. Number one, we've got Tyler Van Dyke. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He's a first-round draft pick. You don't let that go to waste. I think Mario, of all people, one of the biggest critiques against him was that he didn't utilize Herbert. I don't think he's going to make that same mistake twice. And then, to me, I think big picture-wise, look, if they go 8-4 this year, am I going to be fly the banner? No. You let it play out. He's got another off season. He's got recruiting. You let it go. But the difference that recruiting looks like, even with a guy like Mario, he's going to put a good class up. Don't get me wrong. He's going to have a top 12 class, I think, no matter what. But think about, we're in play for 6, 7 5-stars right now, and some pretty good 4-star kids too. 8-4, maybe we snag one of those. Maybe if he really grinds at the end, we get 2. If we go 10-2, a lot of those kids are in play. And I mean, I'm not even talking Cormani McLean, who's a long shot, but you look at guys like Samuel Mpemba, Damon Wilson, Hakeem Williams. 10-2 means you're getting the job done. 10-2 means those kids are going to want to start coming here. And the negative recruiting BS that all these coaches are throwing because they want the South Florida talent not to stay in South Florida. 8-4 doesn't change I mean, Mario's going to have to grind, and he'll grind. He'll get it done to a degree. But 10-2, you're looking at a top 3 class. I mean, it's hard to imagine if they have that much success on the year. And I think Mario's aware of that. I think he's going to do everything in his power. And the difference is, you know, Mario in Oregon, he never had elite coaching. He had good guys. He had some okay guys. But, I mean, he's got Kevin Steele. He's got Josh Gaddis, the Broyles Award winner. Like, those guys are good for wins. I mean, I'm sorry, but that is a major step up from Manny Diaz and his staff. Mario's got Hall of Famers who are analysts. Like, this is a big-time coaching staff, probably top 5 in football. In the ACC, that should buy you wins. Not to mention you've got more talent than a lot of your other teams. Pretty much everyone except A&M and Clemson. And I'm not even sold on A&M. They're relying on a lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores. You know, a lot of guys who you're going off of high school, not what they've actually done on a college football field. And, you know, Kyle Field's going to be brutal playing there. But I don't know. I just think this year adds up. This is, to me, 10-2. I don't see why not. Good teams that are well coached, they go ahead and they win, you know, against lesser opponents. And 10 teams we play are lesser opponents.
All right, Jake. Well, we'll see what happens, man. I mean, I think everybody would like 10. We'd all love to see 10. So.
All right, man. Hey, have a good week.
Yep, we'll talk to you next week. Thanks for being part of the show, Jake. All right, you know, there's so much, you know, we talked about build-up, and yeah, I think that the fact that Bethune-Cookman is the opening opponent is impacting that a little bit, but it's still Mario Cristobal's first game, and we asked him this week about the meaning of that, and I think you guys will find his response kind of interesting.
Oh, I think I'm like the smallest part of this thing, you know, as small as it could be. It's about everything else. You know, it's about making sure that I'm doing all the things to make sure our players, our coaches, our administrators, our recruiting department, development department, you name it, our analyst CAs, everybody can do their job at the maximum level as we put together this game plan, which is already in place, and we've practiced for a couple days, so we can operate at a really high level and always give the best players the best chance to be successful. You know, and making sure that, you know, all these processes we went through, you know, getting on those lifts, simulating game day, you know, the heat of Green Tree practice field, all these things, now all that hard work has to, you know, it was intentional doing it, right? Our purpose-driven, like, practices were special. Now I have to make sure that I do my job and stay in my job and make sure that we get to game day and work to the game, work through the game and beyond, so we could, again, have the best chance to always come out, you know, 1-0. So, yeah, I'm simple and boring, so you don't have to worry about me getting caught up in anything.
Gotta love it. Yeah, he's not going to get caught. Of course he's going to get caught up. Well, his heart's going to be racing when he gets into that tunnel on Saturday and they light up the smoke and he runs out into Hard Rock Stadium as the head coach of the Miami Hurricanes for the first time. Don't check his blood pressure at that point in time. Let's go out to the 786. I believe this is, if I recognize the number, I think this could be Everything 305. Welcome back to CaneSport Live. How you doing this evening?
Gary, what's good, man?
Doing good, man. I'm pretty good. I mean, it's been what, 8-9 months, and I still recognize some of you guys' numbers.
Oh man, you got a fantastic memory. Gary, I got to tell you, love the Good Morning CaneSport show you guys are putting together, and I love how you and Matt go at it every morning So I'm going to go ahead and throw some extra change here when those opportunities come on the chat. That way Matt can have some more of those luxurious lunches, stone crab lunches he's always bragging about.
All right, that sounds good. So what you got for us, ma'am?
Hey, Gary, real quick, man. I think Matt, I love to see you guys interact every morning, but I think Matt's right. I think if you were to put a range here, you could go 9, 10. I'm gonna go at 9-3, and like one of your previous people just mentioned, I think with Big K Hurricane, we should be playing our best football towards the end of the season. I think that's going to be when everything comes together. 36 practices, like Matt emphasized. I don't know how much he can change things. I think physically from the neck down, you can change a lot of things. But mentally from the neck up, I don't know if you can do that across the board. The infusion of the transfers is going to be very impactful. But again, I think that range is pretty solid. And I'm going 9-3, but I think we'll play our best football. To be very honest with you, Gary, the impact, the quality of teaching, and the enormous staff that we now possess, like everybody else, that's a big power football program. I think that's going to pay off dividends the last 5, 6 games of the season, and then the bowl game.
Yeah, that's where I came into at 9. I always say I'll be writing my prediction column this week, but 9 is I think a realistic target. I really do. I mean, if they get to double digits, I think Mario Cristobal is candidate for National Coach of the Year. But like I said earlier, everything, I just don't know that the roster is complete enough yet to get out of all the tough moments. And even if you look back, even at the national championship seasons, I mean, even those teams, as great as they were, they had 3, 4, 5, dicey moments that, during the course of a season. I mean, everybody likes to assume that these teams suck. I mean, these teams and these coaches at all these different places don't suck. They can put a game plan together on a given week.
And Gary, let's not minimize the impact of Zion missing all of fall camp here. So I still think we're going to have a lot of work in that offensive line. There's got to get chemistry. There's got to get cohesion. We're a long way from that. Only battle reps get you there, right? But I will say this, it's my last thing if I can. 4 or 5 years ago, I kept on emphasizing to you, Gary, we need alpha as the leader. We need alpha. We need alpha. The alpha's here, and slowly but surely, all these kids are going to fulfill his identity, which is to play every snap like your life depends on it. That's what we're going to start seeing, but in particular, it's going to be in the trenches. Gary, have a great night, man. Love the new format. Be well, my friend.
All right, everything. Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for keeping it tight, and I'm sure we'll talk to you next week. Let's go to the 850 now, where I believe it's Jamel from Tallahassee on the line. Welcome back to CaneSport Live. You with us, 850? Jamel, you with us or no? All right, you lost your spot. Let's go to the 754. You're live on CaneSport Live. 754, you with us? Going once, going twice. All right, let's go to the 202. You're live on CaneSport Live. Where is everybody? I'm bringing you on the show, and you're not answering. All right, let's try Sean in the 904. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Hey, Gary.
There we go.
This is my first time calling. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida.
All right, it's Sean, right?
Yes, Sean.
All right, man. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Love your show with Matt every morning.
Oh, thank you.
I wanted to just kind of talk. I'm not as optimistic as most fans are, I think, that are calling in tonight. The way I look at the team is this team is littered with Manny Diaz recruits. And, the transfers that Mario was able to bring in are going to be a Band-Aid. And I don't see this team this year in 2022. We're not an elite team. We just don't have the elite players that Mario had, like his last few years at Oregon.
So for everyone to expect that we're just going to be a 10-win team, to me, is a little unfair, given the lack of talent that Mario is dealing with at very key positions. For example, like the offensive line. I'm very concerned about the offensive line because it's the same players that we've been that have played these last several years, with an exception of a few transfers, who backup transfers, like Sagapolo and some other players. So I just wanted to say I'm hoping for the best. You know, I think Tyler Van Dyke is going to help us tremendously, maybe pull a few wins out. But I just don't. I hope we can get to 8 or 9. 9 would be I think that'd be like the Super Bowl in my opinion, just given the lack of talent and what Mario. But like Matt says in the morning, I think 2 to 4 years Mario will have this team rolling. But I just think everyone kind of needs to be patient, given the fact that all these players are still Manny Diaz players, and a lot of them are just not that elite. So that's all I wanted to say. Thanks for having me on.
All right, man. Thanks for being part of the show. Yeah, I mean, that's the tricky part when, you know, you start thinking about this season. And by the way, we do have some open phone lines for those of you that want to get on the show. The number's on the bottom of the screen, 305-889-7342, 305-889-7342. So it's very hard to put a program in a championship level spot in 9 months. And I think Mario Cristobal never accepted that. I think that he attacked the transfer portal as if he was trying to win the national title this year. And I think they just ran out of time. I mean, you know, they never were able to get that elite number 1 receiver that I'm sure they would have loved to see in the transfer portal. But they got a lot. And you could start with the defensive line. And you know, that to me, that is such a difference maker for this team and this defense, because they are going to have really a 2 to 3 deep rotation at both tackle and end. And you are always going to have fresh legs out on the field. And they seem to have put the egos aside. Those kids seem to have bought in. And, you know, you've got guys like Agude and Mesidor that have come in here as transfers because this was a land of opportunity for them to have a bigger stage. And they're going to play plenty. Mesidor is an absolute beast, okay? But the thing that is going to make him, and Agude is pretty good too, but the thing that is going to make those guys even more effective is that they're always going to be fresh when they're on the field. And those defensive line coaches, Coach Salavea, Coach Wright, Jason Taylor, they are going to be able to strategically move those guys in and out of the game depending on situations and always feel good about what they have on the field on the defensive line. And we have not seen that here in a long time. We had Gregory Rousseau, we had Jalen Phillips, but you didn't have that type of quality across the board, even going back to when you had Norton and McIntosh playing tackle. So I'm really encouraged by that. And I think that those guys up front on the defensive line are going to make the linebackers, which we all know is such a big weakness, it's going to make the linebackers better, because those guys are not going to be on islands by themselves all the time. They're not going to be as exposed as they would have been had the defensive line position not been fortified in the portal the way that it's been. So we know the defensive backfield is going to be good. The safeties are really good. The corners have taken a big step. They brought Kevin Porter in from West Virginia to be a starting. To be a starting cornerback, and he may not make the starting lineup. DJ Ivey has played phenomenal this fall. So it goes on and on and on. But I think that it starts with the defensive line, the way they've been able to build it. And I think it's going to make the entire defense better, which is going to make the whole team better. And I think that the defense, another thing I'll point out, is the offense is not going to go at the same tempo as they went under Rhett Lashley. So the defense is going to have fewer reps in a game on the field. And I think that's going to be a big deal as well. So defense could end up being the calling card for this team. All right, let's go out to Lexington, North Carolina, the 336. You're live on CaneSport Live. How you doing this evening? 336, you with us? Going once, going twice. Come on, guys. If you're not going to come on the show and talk, don't tie up a phone line because when I hit the button and bring you on the show, we want guys on the lines that want to come on. Let's go out to the 757 now, Chesapeake, Virginia. You're live on CaneSport Live.
There you go, buddy. Hey, I just had to push the button down. You good? What up, Gary?
Hey, what's up?
How you doing out there today? And all that? Hey, this Kane, baby. Look, I'm living it quick. I'm tired of hearing all this stuff. It's been one Mario. Yeah, okay, maybe we won't be this that. I already say the playoffs. I ain't changing it. I'm sticking with it. I looked at the schedule. I ain't thinking about Texas A&M. I ain't thinking about Clemson. You just made a good point. That defense is almost at least 2 deep, if not 15 deep, or half of a 3 deep. You know, we ain't had that since Caleb Campbell. Campbell, it's been a long time. So when Campbell played, we had a little depth. And I remember he would play like 20 or 30 reps. Like you said, we had Ruth on them. They playing all game. So the defense is going to help the offense. It ain't going to be as fast. So people don't even worry. Kane said it. Playoffs. All you got to do, if we lose to Texas A&M, Clemson, I ain't thinking about them. Let's say they got super break from last year. They ain't no better than what we are. We're going to be there. Playoffs. And if we don't make it, Kane still here. We got Mario. Yeah, they want them. The fan base want them. Y'all better get out. We're getting the rest of it. Texas A&M. And I'll be in Miami the week after that. And then the following week after that to watch the Dolphins and the Bills. Baby, I'm coming. 305 round of shot. We're going to do this thing. Enjoy your life, man, because I ain't time to decline. Peace out. Here.
All right, Kane. I would comment, but he went so fast that I think he just basically said I'm excited as hell for the new season. But Kane, always appreciate you being part of the show. All right, we got for those of you trying to get in, we got a few open phone lines. Again, the number 305-889-7342, 305-889-7342. Right now, we're going to head out to Oakland, California, the 510. You're live on CaneSport Live.
How you doing, Gary? I appreciate you guys' show in the morning. It's humorous.
We try to have fun. You know, it's the morning. Everybody's waking up. They're having their coffee. They're driving to work. You know, we try to make it fun and make that commute to where better for everybody.
6 o'clock and just even listen to the show.
Oh man, thank you, man. We really appreciate that. By the way, really appreciate you.
I can do the same. Kind of sounded doom and gloom. How many starters do we have from the offensive team from last year? What, 9, 8?
Yeah.
Lost the wide receiver.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And we've augmented that with some players that were injured and people who have played themselves up in a better position. And I'm going to be honest with you. I've heard you guys talk about the wide receivers. I really think someone's going to step up in that role. And I'm comfortable with that. I look at us as a 10 and 2.
Who, Donald?
7 and 1.
Who's going to step up? Who do you think? Who do you think's going to step up?
Well, I think, let's put it this way. Since we haven't been, and now let's go back and just look at our history. When Rambo came, everybody said that he couldn't catch it. He wouldn't do anything, and look at what he produced. And that was universal across the board. And he didn't have a productive year the year before at Oklahoma. So when he came here, after about the first game or so, everything took off and the rest is history. And I just think that the offensive chemistry is going to be better. I'm not concerned with the defense, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I think that they're deep. And when you were saying that there are a lot of good quarterbacks in the ACC, this is a really, really good defense. And I think that they're going to play up to the potential of past that potential. So I'm going to be honest with you. I think the game that if they can take that Texas A&M, I think that's going to really be a fulcrum into something greater for the rest of the season. But I think they're going to play them extremely hard. Okay? That's my thought. Okay? Appreciate your show. Congratulations. Take care.
All right, Donald. Thank you for being part of the show. Yeah, obviously, we're not going to really know what is here until we get to College Station. And I hope a lot of you guys are going to make that trip. It is such a cool venue. We'll be talking about it more as it gets closer. We'll show you some of the cool things about College Station and some of the traditions that they have and all. But it's funny, when they scheduled that game, I kind of like yawned a little bit. It was around the time when they were getting rid of Kevin Sumlin, and they were just so. Johnny Football, I think, was a thing of the past at that moment. And I was thinking, Texas A&M, of all the teams around the country that they could schedule for that marquee spot on the schedule, at that moment, I thought Blake James could have done better than Texas A&M. Now, with things shaping up the way they are, I think it's a phenomenal schedule. I think it's the perfect level opponent for that game for this team at this point in time. I do think that they will go up there with a chance to win on the road. I think a couple things. Texas A&M is overrated. And the one thing about, Florida kids going against Texas kids, there's an advantage. There really is. Like, Florida kids are tougher kids than Texas kids. And if you get those guys in a bad situation, it'll get interesting there. So I'm really looking forward to that. But that's a couple weeks down the road, but yeah. All right. So anyway, so I'm sitting here looking at the queue. We do have wide open lines. So 305-889-7342, 305-889-7342. If you want to come on the show, give us a buzz. Let's go right now to the 336. You are live on CaneSport Live. How you doing this evening? 336, you with us? All right, going once, going twice. You are out. All right, so like I said, wide open board. So come on in. 305-889-7342. All right, this might be a good time to dive into a few of the questions that were submitted by the subscribers at CaneSport.com. One of them, just how good is Jake Garcia? Seriously, what do people in the building think about him? I've told this story before. I'll tell it again. Let's rewind the clock 1 year, okay? And think back to when Jake Garcia and Tyler Van Dyke were backing up D'Eriq King, and really neither one was ahead of the other, and they were neck and neck, and that they both looked about the same. And I think if you had taken a poll at that point in time of everybody in the organization, like all the trainers, the equipment folks, the support staff, the coaches, and done a blind poll and asked everybody anonymously, who do you think is going to be the future at quarterback at the U? And I think that it probably would have been about 75-25 in favor of Jake Garcia. Now, you guys said, I know some of you, and I'm watching, I know the chat's going to go nuts right now. You say, Gary's crazy, blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you something. Number one, Jake Garcia came in with a very outward personality. He immediately established himself as a leader of all the young kids. They gravitated towards him largely because of his personality. And he is a very polished quarterback prospect. He's an accurate passer, moved around a little bit in high school to different places to find the best opportunities for himself. But he came in and there was not a discernible physical difference between him and Tyler Van Dyke. But Tyler Van Dyke was a quiet kid, didn't really exert a lot of leadership at that point in time. And I think the combination of everything would have inspired people to say, Jake, man, he's got some Broadway Joe to him. He's got some swag to him. He's got that leadership ability. Jake's going to be the future quarterback. So they go into that Central Connecticut State game, and D'Eriq King's hurt, and they're platooning that game. You remember they they were splitting reps, and Jake Garcia got hurt and missed the rest of the season. And now Tyler Van Dyke, who is as high character a kid as you'll ever meet, like just a super good kid, real smart. That was his moment, and he looked at himself in the mirror and he said, "Let's go. It's time to amp this up," and he did. And I've actually discussed this with Tyler, and I think that the thing that probably made the biggest difference in his evolution as a quarterback was very, very simple. He just started believing in himself. He built on everything that he did, and one throw led to another throw, and by the time that he was done building on things, you're in the second half of the season last year, and he put up 6 straight 300-yard performances. I mean, absolutely stunning the way he played last year, and it's only a shame that they didn't play better earlier in the year. Some people are saying right now, I'm sure it's not a shame because it got rid of Manny Diaz and brought in Mario Cristobal. But if it plays out a little bit differently, you wouldn't have gotten rid of Manny Diaz. You wouldn't have gotten rid of Blake James, and you'd be coming back into this season status quo. Obviously, things are better now. He's better off. You got better coaches. Better players are being brought into the program. And Tyler has taken his game to a whole other level, and it's not a discussion right now. Jake doesn't have those 7-8 games of playing experience to call upon that Tyler has. And there was people have said, Gary said there should be a competition this year or whatever. No, Gary did not say there should be a competition this year. I said that with a new coaching staff coming in, you kind of have a clean slate and they will evaluate the quarterbacks. But Tyler Van Dyke's a better quarterback right now than Jake Garcia. Jake Garcia should benefit enormously from this year sitting behind Tyler Van Dyke, going through the process of being in the quarterback room with Josh Gaddis and Tyler, learning from him, preparing for every game as if he is the starter. And then, assuming that hopefully Tyler makes it through this year healthy, when the competition goes to spring and Tyler's off to go to the NFL, which he will absolutely do if he has even a reasonable season this year, that Jake Garcia is ready to assume QB1 duties at the U. All right, 305-889-7342 is the number, 305-889-7342. We've got some new guys in the queue. Let's go out to Terry from Atlanta at the 678. You're live on CaneSport Live. How you doing tonight?
What's going on, Ferman? It's T-Dog.
Hey, what's up, man? Thank you for the nice comments in the chat, man. Yeah, we decided to take this show to the modern age this year. You know what it was? I'll tell you what it was, honestly. I always wanted to do it this way, but the technology caught up for us to be able to execute your guys' calls and things like that, and integrate with the broadcast systems that allow us to go live and things like that. So it really was a technology thing, finally catching up to where we felt comfortable making this move. But I'm glad you like it, and thank you for the comments.
Yeah, man, I've been wanting you to do this for a minute, so good job for jumping on here, and thanks for answering my question too about Garcia. Hey, look, for the haters out there that hate no Garcia, it's all good, but I'm telling you, I saw this kid live at Grayson. I live here in Gwinnett. Saw him at the Grayson Brookwood game, who, by the way, Brookwood's quarterback is committed to Bama. Saw him at that game, come in, he wasn't even the starter, come in and just take over the game, Ferman, take it over. And keep in mind, this kid transferred, twice from Cali to South Georgia and then to Grayson. And the Grayson community is very tight-knit. So the fact that he came in there and won those guys over and was able to become a leader for that team, it just really stood out to me. That resonated with me.
Great example, man.
He got to Miami. Huh?
Great example. That is who this kid is. I mean, this kid is that type of leader, and he's like a magnet for the other guys on the team. I mean, they love him.
Yeah, I saw that as soon as they got to Miami. I'm looking at the videos, last year when they were and you could see how all of them are around him. Like, that matters. And I'm telling you, if you think about the little the little things like that. We haven't had that type of leadership, the person that brings the entire team together since like J12. And before J12, it was probably Dorsey, where like the whole team respects that guy. And to me, that's one of the things that's been missing. So I'm really pulling for the kids. That doesn't mean I don't want Van Dyke to be successful. I just think that Garcia is just a different dude, man. He just really is. So I'm looking forward to that. But I'm so glad to hear you say that, about the Texas kids. I heard you earlier about you think that UM has a chance because Florida kids are just cut from a different cloth.
Yeah, I really believe that, man. I believe it.
I love that. I love that shit, man. I've been begging for you to get the swag on and tell all these other guys in these other conferences, all these other mods, like, damn that, man. Like, it's time to get the swag back in us. It's time to talk shit. Seriously, bro. Like, I truly believe the same thing. I think our kids are just cut from a different cloth. We just got to get behind these kids. Stop being soft as fans. Start being brad. Start being badass as they were supposed to be. We created that stuff. It's time to rock that again. We took away the chain. That don't mean we got to take away our swag, baby. Bring it back.
I'm with you, man. I got my cane shades on now, and I'm ready to go. Like, I'm ready to get on the plane to College Station right now.
Fat Cuda season is in full effect, baby. Let's go. Appreciate you letting me jump on for me.
All right, T-Dog. Good talking to you, man. Thank you.
Hey, tell Matt when I get down there, you better take me stone crab fishing.
All right. I'll tell him.
He owes me one. All right.
All right, T-Dog. Thanks for being part of the show, man. All right, let's go out to the 419 now. You're live on CaneSport Live. How you doing this evening?
Doing good, Gary.
Who's this?
I'm Ohio Kane on the message board.
All right, man.
I've called in a couple times in previous years.
Thank you for calling in. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I think Vegas really set that line just about perfect. It's sitting at 8.5 wins. I tend to lean towards the over, like the 9, 10 games. Most of that, if I had to bet, I would say 9 games. I'm really excited about everything I'm hearing about the defensive line, the depth, the new kids coming in, getting the depth with Agude and Messador, and you have Gerald Jackson. They said looks amazing against the run. I'm really excited to see a defensive line with that type of depth, especially in the warm weather game, fourth quarter. Offensively, I'll tell you, I know we're having a lot of issues with wide receiver. There hasn't been that true number one on the outside that can really stretch the field. But a kid that I think could be a really dynamic playmaker, and I'm very familiar with Josh Gaddis because I live in Ohio and we watch a lot of Michigan football up here. I mean, it's like 45 minutes from me. The running back position, I think Knighton can be an amazing weapon out of the backfield.
Yes.
Utilize him as a receiver. I really expect him to do big things as a receiver, and it's great to not to have to use him, the between the tackles guy. That's just not his calling. Parrish is, I think, much better inclined for that, and hopefully maybe, I know we have a little bit of issues with depth right now with the injuries, but I think Knight could be a really nice wild card for the offense. So I really do think that with our schedule not being super brutal, 9 wins is very attainable. Now, a question I had for you, because I think you have more inside info than I do. Being that Jalen Brown I don't know what he said, we kind of cooled on Jalen Brown. And another kid, William Foles, I thought wanted to be a Cane really bad, and he wasn't really a take. Are we in line? What that kind of tells me, just my logic.
Well,
do we have traction on a big name?
Great question, and I think it goes to the whole philosophy of recruiting now. We have been for 2 decades now, sort of trapped in this whole mess of trying to fill out recruiting classes and loading up with guys that just can't play at this level. And I don't know if you paid any attention to over the summer. We always do a State of the U analysis, and we go back and we look at the previous 5 recruiting classes that make up that year's team, and the attrition is staggering. I mean, how many guys were taken in every recruiting class that never ended up playing here, that weren't good enough, that had to transfer, that had to be run off. Some years it was almost like 50% of the class. I mean, that's worse than being on probation. You might as well cheat like crazy and get on probation. You'll be better off than that. I mean, I'm dead serious, man. I mean, that is self-imposed destruction. just annihilating yourself. Okay, and it's not like that anymore, man. It's like they're not just taking everybody. That's one thing. Okay, now the other thing you got to think about is how NIL has changed everything. Okay, so if you have a receiver who's a 5-star, he's expecting to get paid. Okay, I'm a 5-star. You know, I want to get paid, and then that becomes a bidding war. Like, okay, and you can't get into bidding wars for everybody. You know, there'll be certain guys that you isolate that you know the people that do NIL will understand. We got to get that guy. We really want to get that guy. And you know, right now it's mostly John Ruiz. And you know, when it comes time to to do NIL deals, they know that they're going to get taken care of. Whatever. You know, it's like they technically can't negotiate the deals when they're still out there as high school recruits, but there's ways to work around everything. You know, look, look at a track record. We're very fair with everybody. You'll be treated very fairly. You know, you don't have to say, oh, well, we're going to give you $500,000 a year to get the message across, right? I mean, let's be, yeah, we're all big boys. You know, you don't have to, you don't have to do that. So I think what I'm getting at here is not everybody can get paid. Not everybody can get top tier NIL. And I think that decisions have to be made along the way of who are the priorities. Well, I mean, I evaluated myself, all these receivers, and Jaylen Brown wasn't in my top 3, of South Florida receivers. I think Ray Joseph is going to be a great college football player. He looks, phenomenal to me. I think Hakeem Williams fits that category, and I think Miami would like Hakeem Williams very badly. But here's the problem there, that you have, like, say, a Texas A&M, which every year is going to pinpoint and target 1 or 2 kids from South Florida to be on their team. And they're all in, man. Like, they're all in. Like, anything that anybody else is going to throw out NIL-wise, it's no different than Shamar Stewart last year. Anything that anybody is going to throw out NIL-wise to Hakeem Williams, the Aggies, they're going to be right there, man. It's like there's nobody that's going to offer more than them. And that's why from day one, almost, of this kid's recruitment, I mean, Hakeem Williams is all about Texas A&M. I mean, they are all in. And it's why Shamar Stewart last year, it didn't matter that Mario Cristobal became the head coach, whatever. He was all in with Texas A&M. And, these South Florida kids aren't growing up saying, I want to go to College Station. Okay. It's like, it's an okay little town. We're all going to go there in a couple weeks. Dude, you can't even find a hotel there. There's one hotel. Okay. I passed through there last summer for a business meeting. And, thankfully they put me up at the Texas A&M hotel that day next to the stadium. But they're in another one in that town. It's like those of us that are going, I mean, we're all staying in Houston or Austin or whatever. I mean, it's just, listen, they got loyal fans. It's an okay downtown. But these South Florida kids aren't growing up saying, oh, geez, I can't wait to go play for Texas A&M. Okay, but this is the world we live in now, man. And it's just changed everything. And it's only just getting started. Wait till we get to December. And you start seeing all the valuations change, because everyone's going to be watching how all these kids play as seniors, and some are going to go up in value in terms of NIL, and some are going to decline in value in terms of NIL. And I think you're going to see ridiculous movement in the month of December. Those first few weeks of December is going to be, they were calling it the Wild Wild West. This is going to be the Wild Wild West on steroids.
Now, can I ask you an opinion? There's a kid that I'm really high up on, and that's Jurion Dickey, the Oregon commit. I know he's saying all the right things for Oregon, and he's, not interested in Miami, but the way I read the situation, I find it hard to believe he's not interested, taking a trip on his own dollar to South Florida, in the brutal heat of summer, taking pictures with the mayor. I think he's very interested in Miami. But obviously, the diplomatic thing, he can't come right out and say that being committed right now. I mean, if he, doesn't want to make any waves. Do you know anything on that situation? I think that's a kid that is just phenomenal. I think he's every bit as good as Hakeem Wayne.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably a little similar. I think Oregon's all in on him. And I think Miami has other guys they're working on. They're working on Hakeem Williams. I'm sure they haven't given up on Andy Jean. I mean, there's guys that they're recruiting that they have to have a priority list. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, this is not a finished recruiting product by any stretch of the imagination, and things are going to change a lot, I think, over the course of the season, but especially in December.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's pretty much all I had to add, and thank you for your time.
All right, man. Thank you for being part of the show. We appreciate it. All right, guys. It's time for, I guess, what I call, don't ask me why. Bruce Warner always says, why the hell do you call our segment Point Counterpoint? I personally haven't come up with anything better. He hasn't suggested anything better. So I'm going to still call it Point Counterpoint. And our Point Counterpoint this year is sponsored by Caneswear. And are you geared up yet for the season? Have you been to Caneswear in Davie recently? They have all the latest gear that you could want for the Miami Hurricanes and the Miami Dolphins too, by the way. Caneswear is more than a store. It's an experience. They have the largest selection of Miami Hurricanes items in town, items from Adidas, Dime Life, Flowgrown, and other brand names, including Team Sideline. Apparel and hundreds of different t-shirts, jerseys, polos, hoodies, and hats in all sizes for men, women, kids, babies, even pets. Lamar Thomas is going to be doing the Lamar Thomas show from Caneswear this year. He even had his babies in the store. And let me tell you something. It was a sight to behold watching Lamar's kids work the aisles at Caneswear like his little girls. They'd find a purse in one section, and all of a sudden, all these purses were making their way to the bottom of the stroller of Lamar's baby. Lamar's got a baby too, and it was the funniest thing. I can't paint the scene good enough. We'll joke about it tomorrow night, I'm sure, on the Lamar Thomas show. But they literally do. They had purses that young girls would like. They have all kinds of stuff in Caneswear: tents, chairs, tables, flags, decals, magnets, license plates, sunglasses, tattoos. They definitely will get you ready for game day. So if you want Hurricanes gear or really any merchandise for any South Florida pro team, they've got you covered all season long. So if you live in South Florida, get on over to Caneswear, located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie. And of course, they're always open at caneswear.com for those of you that live outside South Florida. Caneswear, the spot where Miami fans shop, and we're happy to have them on board as one of our sponsors this year of the Point Counterpoint segment, which means it is now time to bring in, I call him the voice of the fan, Mr. Bruce Warner. Welcome back, Bruce, to a new season here at CaneSport Live. And Bruce always tries to bring on a special guest with him. And tonight we have a guy who, like Mario Cristobal, was an offensive lineman. He's been on our show before, but he played alongside Mario Cristobal and knows Mario probably because of that, as well as just about anybody. And that is our main man, Dr. Claude Jones. We got you on video this year, Doc. Welcome to CaneSport Live. And how you guys doing, man?
There it is. What's up, Doc?
What's up? How's it going, everyone?
We're doing good. We're doing good, man. I'm gonna turn the floor over to you guys for a few minutes and give myself a little break here. The wife just dumped some cookies on my desk.
Well, your buddy's the head coach now. Who would have thought?
Yeah, I mean, it's something it's something you saw coming, because he's such a great recruiter, and just the passion he played with. He was just itching to someday get that back to the younger guys to pretty much show them what we came up with and what we learned, and the with the discipline, the hard work, developing toughness, things of that nature, that he's teaching the kids now, and that's why I think they're just going to be amazing this year.
Yeah, we talked about that, and I had a book signing event Sunday with Leon, and he talked about it as well. And he mentioned to me that when he got here and in the spring, these kids didn't know how to work. He's teaching them how to work. That's something that you guys knew because you were under Jimmy and then Dennis, working hard. So I expect this season to see a lot less of the mistakes, the lack of tackling, all the little intangibles that we did not see the last couple of years. I believe they're all going to be corrected because you lived through it. Mario lived through it. And you knew what it was to work hard. And the old expression that we've said on this show for years, because you've been on before, the games were easier than the practices. Well, that was damn true because you went up against, who'd you go up against? Russell, Cortez, and all those guys.
Oh.
And it was brutal. In fact, Leon made a statement the other day that in 1989, in your fall practice, your team scored 1 touchdown in the entire 3 scrimmages. And they all the offense ran into the end zone and celebrated like you won the national championship. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. As a matter of fact, I remember Jimmy actually starting the practices over.
Really?
Because we'd be 3/4 of the way through the practice, and the defense was kicking our butt so bad. Jimmy would start the whole practice over, and we would end up on the field for 4 hours.
Wow! I don't think
these young fellows, they have it so much easier now because I just remember the tour days. And on Green Tree Field, we used to have these, they call it Green Tree because of the trees that used to be on the field. Jimmy cut them down because we used to congregate to get shade whenever you weren't on the field to catch a break. And Jimmy cut it down because he wanted us to develop that toughness because one of the things he said was, well, you're not going to have trees in the Orange Bowl.
You also had those plastic buckets with the ice, and you guys would run after the practice to get in there. But you don't have that anymore. The facilities are night and day, which I think it kind of softened a lot of kids up. But he's instilling what Jimmy instilled in you guys, which is mental toughness, preparation, no bullshit. You guys really worked hard, and it showed in the games. And I don't know if it's been shown in the last 10 or 15 years with our football teams. They just were. Look at last year. How many games did we come out of the tunnel? We're down 10-0 in 2 seconds. They were never really prepared. They never made in-game changes. I don't want to get into that because all last year I was harping about getting rid of Diaz, and I'm thrilled Mario's here. But you can talk about how tough it was.
Yeah, it really was. And I just think with all the rules changes and, I understand it, because of, heat exhaustion and, some other things that really made it necessary, concussions and things like that really made those changes necessary. But yeah, that's what made us who we were. And that's how you develop that mental toughness and the physical toughness is because you went through it every day. So it wasn't foreign to you. You talked about some of the guys I went against. When I was a freshman, I stepped on the field. I'm going against Dan Stubbs and Bill Hawkins every single day. And these guys really made me a better player. Then when I moved into guard, I started out as a tackle because I was a tackle in high school. I moved inside the guard. Now I got Russell Maryland, Cortez Kennedy, Jimmy Jones, Greg Mark. So we can go on and on and on. But that's what made us who we were. They tend to over a period of time they lost that, and I think part of that is because they don't have that many days in pads anymore. They don't have contact like we used to have. So you can't expect them to tackle well if they only have 5 days in pads. So those are some of the things I think Mario is going to bring is working on the fundamentals. And what's funny about it? Pretty much every day I listen to his press conference, his presser after scrimmages and after practice. And one of the things he talks about is the discipline. I think that's what you're going to see this year.
Yeah, and also, and I don't know if it happened in the last 10 or 15 years, but you guys used to police yourselves. Jimmy didn't have to yell at you. If somebody did something wrong, if a starter screwed up, you knew there was somebody standing over there ready to take your job. All you guys were afraid of losing your job. I don't care who it was. Well, maybe not Leon, but whatever. But you knew that was coming up, and you guys self-policed. Now, I don't know who's the leader on these teams the last 15 years. I don't know who it is, but you guys.
Right. Right, that's true. And even after us, you just don't have the guys like Ray Lewis, the Ed Reeds, things like that. They show that famous when I think it was against Boston College when Ed was going off that I'm hurt, but I'm still going to give it my all. You're right. Who's that leader? Who's that person who's going to step up and get in your face when you're not doing your job? Just taking you back, my first year as a starter, Mario was my backup. So Mario backed me up at guard, and Mario pushed me every single day. Every single day, he was coming after my job, and I had to make sure he didn't get it. However, I was able to teach him how to be a good player, how to be a good offensive lineman. So I would pull him aside, and we would go through drills after practice to show him how to get better. So I wasn't afraid that he was going to take my job. I was more afraid that if I went down, who would step in behind me? That person had to be ready, so I had to get Mario ready.
He wound up on the left side.
No, so my senior year, Mario moved to tackle, so we ended up playing right next to each other, and that's really where I learned the type of player he was and the toughness. On the other side, the year before, it was his brother Lewis,
right,
who was a mean, nasty SOB. He was, this guy was a player, and he would absolutely maul you. And I think Mario picked that up from him, that toughness, and we played so well together. It was actually illegal in like 30 states for me and Mario to be on the same side in some states.
Can't hear you, Gary.
I got it. Okay, sorry about that. I muted myself for a minute. So a couple things that you were saying. You talked about one thing you said was a leader that can very vociferously and strongly get into guys' heads and make his teammates play harder, play better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that on this team right now. Okay, so I want to know how important you really think that is. Like, you look at the offense, for example. The leader's Tyler Van Dyke. He is a mild-mannered guy. Now, I think he's tried to step up as a leader in this role now that he's earned as the starting quarterback based on his performance last year. But I don't think that he is going to go up to Keyshawn Smith and say, catch the damn ball. I don't see that happening. Like him getting in his face and saying, catch the damn ball, the way like a Marino would have.
But you don't have to do that. Like Claude, you'll know, because if Russell Maryland looked at you funny, that's all he had to do was look at you funny. He wasn't a yeller or a screamer, but if he looked at you and don't do that again, that would be the end of it. And you knew you weren't going to do it again. You had people like that as well. Not everybody's a yeller or a screamer.
Yeah, that's true. But it's important to have that rah-rah type of guy.
Right.
Because it's all about accountability. So I have to know if I get beat for some reason that Mario is going to pick the guy up next to me, or we're going to be able to communicate. For instance, wide right one, 4th down and 6, where we had to get the first down, or it's lights out, game over, we go home. You couldn't hear a thing. You couldn't hear a thing. So I had to communicate with Mario by touching him, because we couldn't hear anything, and you can actually feel the ground rumbling. That's how loud it was in there. But just for him to know, I got you. Here's the snap count. So it's that communication and also that trust that we built, and also the accountability as well. If a guy's not doing his job, you got to get in his face and say, or, like you said, Bruce, something like me, I wasn't a big rah-rah guy, but I'll pull you aside and say, hey, this is what you got to do on the next play or on the next series. We'll talk about it. So They got to have that. They have to do a better job of that. I think you're going to see that this year.
But can the team survive without that kind of guy? Without the guy that's going to command that type of stage, because that is his personality, the way an Ed Reed clearly did very easily. I just don't know that I see, like, James Williams isn't that. James Williams is the nicest, friendliest, kid. Like, that doesn't seem to me like his personality. Avante might eventually get some of that in him when he establishes himself as a player. But I don't see a lot of that. Tyreek is trying to take on a leadership role. We talk to him quite a bit. We do a blog with him every week, and you could see him trying to take on a leadership role. He also, like, quiet, nice kid. That's not really his personality. I just don't like everybody. A lot of people seem to think you have to have that on a football team. You have to have that Ed Reed kind of guy, and I just don't see that in the program right now.
Yeah, so those type of things aren't necessary to win. However, it has to come from up top now. If you don't have that from the players, now the coaches have to come in and exert their will and hold everyone accountable. And I think that's what Mario is going to bring when a guy's not doing his job. You're going to stand next to me on the sideline.
I wouldn't be surprised if Van Dyke gets in somebody's face, Gary. I wouldn't surprise. He is going to catch the goddamn ball, but he's probably going to say, if you get your hands.
He's that type of player.
It's so hard for me to imagine that, but maybe.
Okay, well,
he looks to me to be that type of guy who's going to get in your face. But I remember someone like Craig Erickson, and he used to get in these receivers mug, and he would tell them, you know what, you give up again, I'm not throwing you the ball ever again. So. And he made good on that promise, but it's about holding each other accountable. But it has to start at the top. I think he's got a great coaching staff who's going to pass that down to the players. And once the players see that and they gain that respect from the coach, that if I screw up, I'm going to be on the sideline with you. And let's face it, these kids are spoiled now. They got NIL. Oh, I'm not playing. You put me on the side, I'm going to transfer. But you got to have a coach. I don't give a crap if you transfer. You're going to be held accountable, and it's going to be next man up. And that's
you mentioned something before about you and Mario knowing each other. And I said this to Gary a few months ago when we got a lot of those defensive linemen. I'm concerned about, there's 8 of them. They got the 4 from last year and 4 new ones. Those guys have not played one down together yet. So, there's 8, but they're going into a game Saturday, and they haven't played together. And so who knows what's going to happen? And you got a middle linebacker and you got a new corner. So that as the defense, 6 out of the 11 guys have never played 1 second on the field. I'm concerned. Can you get through all that this quickly? And maybe it's good because we do have Bethune-Cookman and it's a Southern Miss.
Yeah. It will be a little different. It's like you said, no matter what coaching staff you have, the guys haven't played together yet. So let's not crown them national champions yet. But once they work out the kinks, you're gonna have some offsides, you're gonna have some penalties, you're gonna have stupid things happen, fumbles, but it's gonna take them a while to gel. But I think over a period of time, they're going to be absolutely unstoppable. You look at the kids he's bringing in, the recruiting and everything like that, the great coaching they're getting, the great insight, the history, all that's going to come into play.
You mentioned Mario taking on that role, and I agree with you. And I get such a kick out of like the way he coaches these kids and the messaging all the time. And there's always something psychological or whatever going on. And one of them was, most weeks when it's game time, you get a depth chart, and nobody's seen a depth chart for this team yet. I'm hearing there's all kinds of co-starters and nobody has any clue who's really first team. And we asked Mario about that, Claude, and I just want you to hear what he said.
At this week, it's not fair. Look, if it was fair and it was clear as day, you'd be handed something today. I mean, there's no head fakes on this side. I don't believe in it. I mean, when we speak here and we get a chance to address the media, it's a privilege it's also an extension of a team meeting. There's nothing that I'm ever going to mention here that's not mentioned and emphasized in our team meeting. You know, these battles, some of them are still going on. And our players in our program deserve that respect for me to continue to assess and let those guys go on a Tuesday and Wednesday giving their best so we can really put our best guys and our best performers on the field in the way that they deserve to be.
Yeah.
There it is, right?
Yeah. And you know, what he's talking about there is the communication. The same thing I'm telling the press and also the public. I'm going to tell the same guys. I'm going to tell the guys the same thing, but it's also the transparency as well. The same information I'm giving here, I'm going to give to my players. So again, I just think it's going to be a new day, a new level of accountability. There's going to be discipline. Guys are going to be held accountable. You know, if they don't play well, and like you said, you know, the person behind you is pushing you. He's going to put the best players on the field, no matter who they are. And that's the thing. You know, that's the thing. Also, is putting the best guys on the field. You know, sometimes we get into, oh well, they were a 5-star recruit and first team All-American coming to the season. You know, if you're not playing up to your standard, you shouldn't play. And that's what we've been missing over the years.
Yeah, and that was the psychology of Jimmy. And now you could see the same thing transferred to these kids through Mario. You just know it. You know, let's just. I don't know if you heard, because I've been watching the whole show. They were doing predictions for the season. I'll make a prediction. If they lose another running back, we're going to be in real trouble, because they've lost Chaney and they lost Citizen for the entire season. Chaney, we don't know. So they're down to Parrish and Knighton and I guess Franklin. So we can't afford any more running backs to go down. To go with
so those type of things, they are what they are. You know, if these guys aren't playing, you got to get the next guy ready. You can't use that as an excuse. Does it hurt you at some point? Yes, but you know, again, it takes that team to rally around that player who may not be familiar or who is young, to give them that encouragement, and that's what they have to do. Even on the sideline, if you know, if it's called short memory. So if you fumble the ball or you have a penalty, you got to wipe it out. You have to go to the next play, and that's what has to happen on the sidelines.
And I think they also need the mentality. And if somebody, we always talk about the old days or whatever, you guys, but they have to have that mentality of us again, because that's what carried you guys when you lost. Look out for the next opponent. They were obliterated the following week. You guys internalized a lot of this stuff. I don't see that.
Yeah.
That has to come from above. And the coaching staff they've had here since Butch left, that hasn't happened at all. It just hasn't. It's
well. You know, it's human nature to want to go back to your norm, right? Everyone wants to be normal. Everyone wants to, you know, because it feels good. That's your safe place. So if losing is normal to you, that's where you want to be. It's the psychology of it. So once you get used to winning, it becomes infectious. We lost 4 games in 5 years. You know, we didn't know what losing was. And when we lost, it was absolutely morbid. And we got punished for it. So
yeah, when you guys came back from Brigham Young, wow, was that a bad
I mean, they wanted to fire Dennis. Dennis ran us to death. You know, we practiced, 12 hours in a day, you know. So Jimmy did the same thing. I mean, we got punished. He ran us to death, and because he wanted you to understand that it's painful to lose and it's unacceptable, and we have to get that back.
Yeah, we have to.
Claude, who's Mario Cristobal, the human being? You grew up next to him.
Yeah. So one of the best people you ever want to associate yourself with. Just a great guy, kind, considerate. You know, I'm glad to see him really evolve into, and it's from what he's learned over the period of his coaching career. To become a little hard and callous, and to not take excuses, and to be tough on the fellows. He on his players, and he learned that over a period of time. With us after Jimmy left, I believe we got kind of soft because Dennis was real laid back, and we kind of lost that edge. As a matter of fact, right after we won the national title against Alabama, the next year we came back, we were number one. We were number one team in the country. We were the best team in the country, and we got our butt kicked the first game right out the box. And that's because we got kind of rested on our laurels. We figured, we're going to go in there, kick their butt, get out of there. And we showed it. We showed the team we were against Texas, that last game of the season.
Oh, yeah.
Who we really were. But we should have played like that all year. We lost to Notre Dame that year. So it was tough. But I think he's going to bring all that back, hold these kids accountable, and for them to understand losing is unacceptable at the U.
Right. I think this could be a special year. Listen, Gary and I have talked about this. There will not be any Mario bashing this year. Maybe on a bad call or he did the wrong play or whatever. But as far as coaching, no way. There's not going to be any Mario bashing. I'm not going to allow it. It's just wrong. This guy has changed the culture in 9 months since he's been here. Look what's going on. Look at every little detail. Everything has been worked on by Mario Cristobal.
Right, Bruce. But like I always tell you, it has to translate to the field. Let's face it. As alumni, you got a court of public opinion, right? So you got us breathing down your neck. You got the fans. You got people who get on these type of things and talk about the game. He has a lot of pressure because he has to win, no matter who you are. And you got to win. I love him to death, but he's got to win. And that's just it. It'll be unacceptable to come in with a losing record, or even the expectation is you may not go undefeated, but you can't go backwards. And that's what happens. Once you set that standard, if he wins 10 games, he set the standard. You can't lose. You can't come in with less than 10 wins and end the season you're there, because once you set that standard, that's going to be the expectation.
Good. I think he welcomes the challenge. I don't think he's going
to. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. He's going to do it. But I agree with you. There shouldn't be bashing. More constructive criticism. I know that's a fine line, but I think we have to be very supportive of Mario. I do agree with you. The things he's putting in place, with the players, with the community as well, building that trust back. There's an excitement there again. And we felt this excitement before. Every time we change coaches, this is going to be a new year. But I think this is something different.
Yes.
Because he played there. He's part of the community. He grew up in Miami. He understands hard work. He understands discipline, perseverance. He understands it because he lived it.
All right. What a difference between him coming in and when Manny Diaz came in with no head coaching experience whatsoever. It's night and day. I don't want to beat that to death because it's been beaten to death, but it's not.
Well, we got to move on from Manny. We can't live in the past anymore. We can't compare Mario to anyone else. Mario is going to set his own standard, and he's going to live by that. But again, I think and we're tough at the U. That's just the way it is. But I think he's going to live up to it and bring championships back to the U.
Yeah, let's start with the Coastal and go from there. That's been a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's been a nightmare. That's all we win the Coastal. Bullshit to the Coastal.
Exactly.
You got to start with that. You have to do something. You can't get
to the title game without You may not make it to the CFP,
right?
But you take those small incremental steps. So, like you said, win the Coastal. Let's face it, Clemson is the litmus test, right? They're the standard. So go in, beat A&M, you beat Clemson. I tell you what, they do that, they're going to make a statement right away. Yep. We're not here to play games this season.
Can you imagine if they do that? What the recruiting class would look like, Gary?
Yeah, I mean, those 2 games on the road.
Listen, I'll be happy if they go 10-2. They lose to Clemson in the title game, but they win the ACC because Clemson's going to the playoffs and they play in the Orange Bowl. I wouldn't be so disappointed.
Right? Exactly.
They'll get the 10 or 11 wins.
Because it's an improvement. Because it's an improvement.
Yes.
It's an improvement from the prior season. As long as you're continuing to improve and not really hit that steady state, I think is going to bode well for them.
Yep, I agree.
All right, guys, let me throw out, because we're going to be getting back to your calls here in a moment. The call-in number, 305-889-7342, 305-889-7342. We got a couple open lines there. Now's a great time to call in. Greg, I do see you. I know you're itching to get on. We'll get to you momentarily.
Yeah, where's he been?
But, guys, parting thoughts, like, Claude, what type of season do you expect? Everybody at this time of year loves to predict a number of victories, and I think 9 is the benchmark. Some people say 8. Some people put on their orange and green colored glasses and say 10. What do you think is a fair expectation for this team this year?
Yeah, I think 9 to 10 wins. So here's the thing, right? Here's what we got to remember. We keep throwing out Clemson and A&M. North Carolina's going to be a tough game. Pitt's going to be a tough game. Florida State's going to be a tough game. That's always a battle. So we can't forget about those teams. Virginia Tech, that's always a grudge. That's always a grudge match. So
I said that early in the show tonight when we were talking about it.
Yeah.
The Canes fan tends to say everybody sucks, but
right, exactly.
That's not reality, man. It's like they got good coaches, they recruit, they hit the transfer portal too to fortify weaknesses. I mean, there's going to be several tough games this year.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They're going to have tough games, and we tend to look past those teams I just mentioned, and you can't. Because what will happen is you'll be A&M and Clemson, and then you'll go get your butt kicked against.
Yeah, can you imagine if that happened? That would be horrible.
Well, it can. You know why? Because the emotional spend you have getting ready for those big games, and you give everything you got because these people are coming at you left and right. It happened to us. We beat Florida State, right, in their house. They're number 1. We're number 2. We beat them, and then we go to Boston College and we almost lose.
Yeah,
because there was so much energy expended and so much hype
right.
that it's hard to get up for the next game.
But Gary, don't we play Pitt at home after Clemson? Who knows how we're going to be for that game?
But look at A&M. Didn't they lose 4 games last year? I think
they did, and they beat Alabama.
And they beat Alabama.
They lost 4 games, and it wasn't Alabama.
Yeah,
really can't predict these things, man.
Yeah, the ACC has really come up. The ACC has really come up. You don't have Miami, Clemson, and everyone else anymore. These teams, they come to play now. And if you're Miami and you look at everything surrounding us now with all the hype and recruit, now they want to beat you even more now. So everyone's going to bring the A game every week. But it's always been that way every year.
So what's your prediction, 9 or 10?
I think 9 to 10 wins is reasonable. And again, we're going to the CFP. We're going to play Alabama. That's not reasonable, people. Right. You got to give them time. Give them time. We'll win 10 games. We'll come back. We'll get better. It's going to take us a couple of years to get back there. You just got to give them time. For us to go undefeated and go to the playoffs, that's unreasonable.
I think that 9 or 10 is doable.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that Pitt has a relatively easy schedule. So if that's true, that makes that last game, or could make that last game, for all the marbles, at least the Coastal Division.
That's right. That's right. They've been picking Pitt
yes.
to win the division. So
yes. Well, we can't stumble against the Virginia on the road with Armstrong. That kid's good.
I mean, that's not going to be an easy game. You got Virginia. I mean, these games you have to play.
I think we'll know a lot more if we really fight it out with A&M, and even if we do lose, if it's a damn good game and it's really a struggle to the end, and if we do happen to get beat, that'll tell us a lot more about what we have than if we get blown out, because that's going to make us look.
Well, see, it's not like it used to be, right? You had Miami, Florida State, Notre Dame. That was it.
Yeah.
You had everyone else, right? So in our mind, we had 2 games to play every year.
Well, I
that's
think
it. You got Notre Dame, Florida State.
1991 team ought to show up at Texas A&M instead of these guys. Call Steven and call Dwayne Johnson and call Darren Smith and go back down to
right. But my point is, But my point is that it's not like that anymore. You have to play every single week now.
Yep, every week.
Right, and we didn't have that problem. We knew we had 2 games. Who are we playing this week? Oh, we got West Virginia. Like, seriously? Like, stop. That. You know what I mean? Okay, so you look at the schedule. Where's Florida State? They're game 9, 10. Okay, everyone else, doesn't matter. It's not like that anymore, though.
Laura Freeman makes a great point along the lines of what we were just saying. She says, if the ACC sucks, how come Miami can never win it?
That's exactly a good point.
You know?
Good point. The answer is because our coaches have sucked, and the staff sucked, and the players weren't so good. I think we're just dropped several notches since Butch left, and it is what it is.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah,
It
but I
cheaped
think
out
that's
with the
gonna change.
coaches and the ability to pay the coaches. You mentioned that Mario got a boatload, and
well,
staff got money too.
Okay, well, let me touch on that right quick. And that made the difference too, because Miami, the administration, they finally said enough is enough. We have to open it up now and give him money to get a staff. We have to pay for a great coach, and we have to pay for a great coaching staff. That's it. You look at these other teams, they have an army of coaches. Nick Saban, I think he's got like 20 coaches on the staff. And it's not just the coaches on the field, it's the support around the players as well. You got to have that. They have like nutritionists and GMs and VPs of personnel and all this. It's a pro team. It's a pro concept now, because you got to build that support around the team as well.
Right, and that's what Mario's trying to do. That's why Alonso's here to help with scouting kids, and it's going to change. It might not happen tomorrow.
Right.
It might not happen this season, but eventually it's going to come to fruition, and this team's going to be a powerhouse. They're going to be in the top 5.
Absolutely, no doubt.
He knows what he's doing. He knows how to get there. He knows the blueprint. Look who he had. He had Jimmy and he had Nick Saban.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for being part of the show. And Claude, you're always welcome here. You know that. And
he wants a full-time gig on the show, and he wants to be
problem, man. You just let us know. You're welcome. Listen, I got a lot of screens to my avail, man. So we can bring you on.
He's a great guest. He's just a great guest.
Hey, look, fellas. Well, whenever I can make a little extra change, I'm not doing this crap for free anymore. I'm not volunteering for this crap. My time is worth something, so I'm start charging.
Free. This is the first time. Last week when you came to Sicily 11 was the first time that you paid for my meal. So you've been getting away with it for years. I always pay for you.
Well, that's why you love me, man.
Come on. I've only known you for what, since high school?
Yeah.
All right, Claude. We'll do it. We'll do it again, man. Thank you so much, Bruce.
All right, folks. Anytime, man. Appreciate you. Love you,
Bruce,
man.
we'll see you tomorrow night on the Lamar Show.
You got it, baby. You got it.
All right, guys.
Talk to you later, buddy. Bye, Gary.
All right, so program note tomorrow night in this time slot, 8:00. We got the Lamar Thomas Show. Just got a commitment from Alonzo Highsmith to be one of the guests on the Lamar Show tomorrow night. Really looking forward to that. We got Lamar on the scene at Caneswear this year, so that'll obviously be very interesting. All right, you got the number on the bottom of the screen. We got a almost wide open board, 305-889-7342. 305-889-7342. But right now, I'm going to go to a guy that we're used to being first on the show. It's a little tougher this year to be first. We got a little different phone system. I don't know if he's going to like it very much. But I know I want to hear, after all these months, what he has to say. And Greg, welcome back to CaneSport Live. How you doing tonight?
I'm good, Gary. How are you?
How are you, man? Sorry you had to wait so long. We had those guys scheduled. So, but how you been, man? Talk to us. People look forward to your call every week.
Okay, I got a few points here. I don't care if Matt's real negative, but tell him to stop whining. He sounds like a little bitch with his comments. He's a whiner.
Oh, that's harsh, man.
I like Matt, but he whines everything. Next, you're talking about 8 wins. Manny was 8-3 a couple of years ago, and we're ready to run him out of town. We're gonna accept 8 wins, paying this guy.
But Greg, let me ask you. Let me stop you for 1 sec. You wait on it and hold. You're going to get plenty of time. How do you hold Mario responsible for this roster? I mean, he has done an amazing job fortifying it. He's brought in the most elite of elite coaching staffs you could ever hire. But if they don't win 9, 10, 11 games, how do you hold him responsible for that?
How do I hold him responsible? I've been listening to your show for the last month. You talk Van Dyke's a Heisman candidate. We have a great front defensive line and a great secondary. So right there, what's wrong with the roster? You say we don't have a wide receiver. Did you know that Charleston Rambo was going to be a great receiver last year before the season?
Yeah.
They ran him out of Oklahoma because he dropped so many passes. You don't know. You don't think any of these guys have the potential to be good? Romello Brinson, Jacoby George, these guys, Frank Ladson, these guys are all 4 and 5 star players. I mean, you're telling me not one of them is any good? How is that possible?
You know, here's what I'm going to give you, and this is something that I've been a little wrong on. You know, I'm used to there not being very, very many teams that get to double digits in victories. But the truth is, in the way college football is now, there have been more. And, you know, maybe, I've been saying 9, but, maybe if you're talking about playing 12, 13 games, I mean, maybe it's not unfair to want 10. I mean, I don't know. I still realize that this team does not have a lot of depth. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be things go wrong over the course of a season. And I'm trying not to be overzealous in terms of how many wins that we're predicting. But I hear you. I mean, you're right. I mean, Mark Richt got to 10-0. I mean, who knows?
I know you predicted last year 9 wins, so I mean, and the roster's much better this year, isn't it?
Is it? I don't know. Is it much better? I mean, Van Dyke played at a very high level when he played, but I mean, theoretically, he should be a little bit better this year. The running back position, is it better? I mean, I think it's comparable. Tight end, I would say comparable. The receiver position's not even close to as good as last year. Defensive line should be better. Linebackers, maybe a wash if you're lucky. DBs should be a little bit better. So it's better in spots, no doubt.
The coaching staff is certainly
should be much better.
Okay, what Matt's buddy there, who he went out to dinner with, said he doesn't like Josh Gaddis. Josh Gaddis didn't have any game-breaking receiver last year, but they had more big plays than anyone in college football. He won the Broyles Award. So how bad of a coordinator could this guy be?
I agree.
I mean, come on, this guy is a legitimate. He works.
But Matt's not wrong in the sense that Michigan fans were somewhat vocal against Josh Gaddis at times, but I agree with you. I thought he did an amazing job utilizing his personnel. Some of those kids had incredible seasons. And if you think that they had so much talent, look at what happened to them when they got against a team that did have so much talent. They got undressed against Georgia. And that tells you that they did not have enormous amount of talent. They did a good job of coaching, and Josh Gaddis was part of that.
Okay, I'm gonna last point or one more. We're gonna be favored in 10 out of the 12 games this year. Okay, so if we don't win at least 9, I think it's a disappointment.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I said 9. I agree with you.
Okay. What's the story with this Ja'Cory Brooks thing with Alabama? Did he want to come to Miami?
There was some conversation about that in the offseason. And I think he decided to stay at Bama on the perceived promise that he would be a starting receiver for them this year. And I have not been paying a lot of attention, but I have heard some of the noise. and I'm guessing that that's because he's not starting right now. And if he got lied to, I don't know. Maybe that means he becomes a Hurricane for next year.
One last quick. Ruben Bain, if that guy is in a 5-star, did you see him against IMG the other night?
Yeah, I think he's a great player.
IMG's got 1,000,000 4- and 5-star players all over the field, and he was dominant.
Yeah, we got to try to. I'm going to try to get that game tape and cut that up and some of those Ruben Bain moments.
All right, Gary, thanks for letting me on.
Greg, thank you so much for being part of the show again. Sorry you had to wait on hold so long. Thanks for your patience, and we'll be talking hopefully on a weekly basis now.
Yeah, you got it. Take care.
All right, Greg. Great talking to you. Always love his calls, man. He's such a passionate fan. All right, 305-889-7342. 305-889-7342. If you want to get on the show, call in now. This is the time to do it. And right now, let's go out to the 561, where you're live on CaneSport Live. How you doing tonight? You with us?
Hey, Gary, it's Romeo. Yeah, hey, Gary, it's Romeo from West Palm Beach.
What's up, Romeo?
Caller, long-time listener.
How you doing, man? What you got for us?
Doing great. Hey, when I look at the comparison between last year's team and this year's team, I think, I broke it down to like 3 major pros. One is I think the defensive line is going to be much better. 2, I think coaching across the board, every position coach and the coordinators are a huge upgrade. And I think third, and it hasn't been talked about a lot, but I think special teams. I think Coach Maloof, he coached at NFL level. And I really see the special teams taking an uptick this year, making some big plays. And if you want to be competitive against teams that have a better roster than you, like Clemson, special teams is the way to attack those teams. And I think I got really 2 question marks. One, if we, beat the depth already. The wide receiver group, I think it's solid, but I don't know if we have a difference maker. We have to go into the season and see if somebody really steps up. And the second thing I really question is the O-line run blocking. I know we're going to protect our quarterback, but I'm not convinced yet that we're going to be a physical run blocking team. If those 2 things pan out, if those 2 things pan out, then I think we've got a shot at that.
Well, that was one of the things that came up in training camp, especially early on. And it's hard to get a read on that because I don't know how much of the so-called shortfalls in run blocking were due to the better play at defensive line. And we won't know until we start playing games and get into it. But, I think your concerns are well placed.
Yeah. But I still think the floor of this team is 8, but I think the ceiling could be a 10-win team.
All right, what else you got for us tonight?
That's it. I just enjoyed watching you guys on CaneSport. Keep up the good work.
Oh, man, thank you. Thank you for being part of the show. All right, guys, I got a wide open board. I got a couple things still to clean up for the show, but if you want to get on the show, now is the time to call. A couple things that came up with Mario this week that I just wanted to bring to your attention and talk about for a moment. We talked about the greatness of Tyler Van Dyke going into his, second season as a starter. And you've seen all the offseason accolades he's got and been mentioned as a Heisman candidate and all that. Mario talked a little bit about Tyler Van Dyke this week.
I think every part of his game, Tyler is a student of the game. So when you're a quarterback, you really can't ignore any facet of what you do and how you do it. And when you're a guy with the spotlight's on you, like it is on him, your leadership role continues to increase, right? People want to hear you more. People want to see you get out in front and make things go a certain way, create momentum, by the way you play, but also by the way you address your teammates, the way you form that camaraderie that certainly gets you past the tough moments. His accuracy has been outstanding, decision-making, pocket presence, His ability to run the football as well is something that is very underrated, that we're certainly very impressed with. All in all, it just continues to grow as a great player and a great quarterback.
Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to bring up that came up this week is the last couple of days we've seen a lot more positive commentary about the receivers. And I want to play a couple things for you guys and let you kind of put A and B together a little bit, and we'll discuss it for a moment. First, let's hear Mario talking about the improvement of the wide receivers.
Well, really pleased with the last 4 days of practice. You know, I know it almost sounded like a broken record from spring all the way through fall camp, where we're looking for more consistency. That word kept popping up, consistency, because there were flashes, but just not on a consistent basis. Well, as we installed everything and then some, and as we pared things down and started getting more reps with the same group of guys working together, we saw more production, we saw more reliability, more consistency, again, that word, and felt really confident leaving practice on Saturday, which was very much like what a game flow would be like, and then yesterday's practice as well. So we feel like we've gained ground, we've made progress, and we think our best days are still ahead of us, so we're still going to keep grinding on it.
All right. So here we are, the week of the season starting, right? The receivers have been being pounded all through fall camp. It's been, when we've been out of practice, we've seen a million drop balls, things like that. And there was a lot of pressure being put on these guys. Got to step up, got to step up. Now here we are, week before the season, and, they should be doing better. Supposedly they're working harder, things like that. But I want you to listen to Mario talk about building confidence in his team when it comes time to go play games. And, we'll see what you guys think after that.
Well, I don't know if it's nerve-wracking as it is a matter of anxiety, guys going out there and, but we make it real clear. A wise man once told me, before you go out there, throw caution to the wind, right? What's going to show up. Your practice and preparation is your game reality. And so we spend the entire week not only preparing and grinding and pushing and challenging, but we also build confidence. Confidence in players in front of their teammates, so their teammates have confidence in them as well, right? And so the combination of that, the combination of legitimate one-on-one conversations with their coaches, with their teammates, how we address ourselves as a team, and then playing the guys that deserve to play, right? Really, it brings confidence to the table, right? What you don't ever want to do is play guys that don't deserve it or don't earn it. That's how you shatter a team's confidence, all right? Always honest, transparent, which is boring sometimes, but it is the best way, in our opinion, always to do things with our team. And we believe that, as we get closer and closer to game time, they're going to realize more and more and more that the way that we practice should always be as difficult or more difficult than when we play a game. That's always been the secret sauce to Miami. It wasn't some mythical potion or, a wish. It's always been about what was done on that practice field. Well, we've done that. We've brought that aspect back to our program, which is something that we feel very confident in and looking forward to. They're paying off.
All right. So is it a coincidence that here we are a few days before the season and suddenly now the receivers are being complimented? I don't think it is. I think that they want to build these guys up. I think they want to make them feel like they are competent, that they are not what everybody believes they are after some of these tough moments in fall camp. And it's going to be really interesting to see the finished product when the games start, how these guys perform. Do they start making big plays? Who's going to step up? So many subplots that we're going to be following as the weeks go by with the receiver position, which, like I said at the beginning of the show, I absolutely believe is the wild card right now for this team and how many games they win, whether it's going to be 8, 9, 10, 11, whatever it's going to be. I think what they're able to get out of the receivers is going to go a long way to determining that. All right, let me see here. I'm going to clean up the last few questions that were submitted on the message boards at CaneSport.com. Somebody asked about the place kicking. I mean, Andres Borregales is solid. He missed that one kick in the Virginia game last year that cost them that game, but there's no reason to think he's not solid. We have not seen anything to suggest that he's not solid. Is the offense going to show anything the first 2 weeks, or is it going to be vanilla? I think it's going to be vanilla. I think there's no reason to show all kinds of crazy stuff unless you're looking to set something up for Texas A&M. I think you want to work on fundamentals, make sure you're fundamentally sound and can execute the base plays in your offense. So I'm expecting a lot of vanilla here. And then, of course, when you start bringing the second and third teamers in, you want to be vanilla. You know, you don't want to get too crazy with those guys. Should we let TVD get 300 yards passing before he sits on the bench? I wouldn't be too worried about TVD's stats. I really wouldn't. You know, get him a little work and get him out. You know, you don't want him subjected to injuries and things like that in a game like this. You know what he can do. You've had training camp. Bethune-Cookman is not very likely to test him very much. And, you know, let him get out there, make some plays, get the ball to the receivers, build some confidence, and then let Jake Garcia, who did not play last year, in my opinion, get at least a half of playing time against Bethune-Cookman on Saturday. All right, that's going to do it for CaneSport Live tonight. Nice, tightly packed 2-hour show. Hope you guys enjoyed the new format. Tomorrow night, we will have the Lamar Thomas Show, the return of the Lamar Thomas Show. And that's always a lot of fun. I hope everybody will join us live tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. And we'll go from there, man, as we get ready. We'll have the You Bet CaneSport Show on Thursday. And I'll be making a big announcement on Thursday about a new show that we're adding this year that I think you're going to like. So for now, thank you to everybody that watched. Thank you to all of our callers. And we'll see you next week on CaneSport Live. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Lamar Thomas Show. Good night, everybody.